Welcome back to Hero on the Couch, the only place where happily ever after goes to therapy. Tonight, we have royalty joining us. She's the icon of grace, the symbol of aspiration, the living proof that a good shoe can change your life. Please welcome Queen Cinderella.
Thank you, Dr. Vane. It's refreshing to be here. Not quite the same ambiance as the Royal Palace's West Wing, but I appreciate the honesty of the lighting.
Honesty is what we aim for. Queen Cinderella, or may I call you Ella?
Ella is fine. Cinderella is frankly a brand name I'm legally required to use for all charitable engagements and palace tours. You can imagine the paperwork.
Understood. Ella, the world knows your story. The cruel stepfamily, the mice, fairy godmother, glass slipper, perfect ending. You've been the gold standard for happily ever after for centuries, yet you're here. When you look back at that iconic moment when the slipper fit, what is the true first emotion that comes to mind now that you're living the result?
Relief. Pure, blinding, nauseating relief. Not joy, doctor. Relief that I wouldn't be beaten for forgetting the ashes again. Relief that I wouldn't smell of soot for the rest of my life. The whole Prince Charming part was, frankly, a secondary perk, like getting free parking.
That's a far cry from the narrative we all consume. You describe your life as a servant. Was it merely hard labor or was there emotional damage?
Emotional damage is a rather clinical term for psychological warfare, wouldn't you say? It wasn't the scrubbing of the floors that broke me. It was the meticulous, daily erosion of my worth, the constant reminder that I was less than human. When you're conditioned to believe that your voice doesn't matter, it takes more than a single ball and a royal marriage to restore your inner dialogue. Sometimes, when the clock strikes midnight, I still involuntarily flinch, waiting for the gown to turn back into rags and the accusations to begin.
That reaction, the involuntary flinching, that sounds like a classic symptom of post-traumatic stress. Has your royal life provided the secure environment needed for recovery?
Secure? No. It provided a different kind of prison, doctor. The one with silk curtains and 1,000 eyes watching your every move. The expectation of perfection is a heavier weight than a bucket of scrubbing water. At least with the scrubbing, you knew what was expected. Now I have to be a flawless diplomat, a devoted wife, a patient queen, and I constantly feel like the clock is ticking, waiting for the world to realize I am just a scullery maid wearing a crown that doesn't quite fit.
Ella, let's talk about the glass slipper. It's the ultimate symbol of destiny. Did you truly believe that object held the key to your happiness? Or was it simply the most efficient exit strategy you could conceive?
It was definitely the exit strategy. A very effective, albeit fragile, one. Destiny? Destiny is a narrative tool for people who haven't had to clean a chimney. The slipper was a clue. It was proof that I existed outside of my stepmother's narrative. And as for happiness, happiness is a very high-maintenance pet. It requires constant feeding, grooming, and absolute silence from any residual trauma.
Speaking of residual trauma, your stepfamily. The story ends with you riding off with the prince. What happened to the Tremaines?
They received what they deserved: social obscurity. The king, bless his traditional heart, wanted to banish them, but I vetoed that. Banishment is too simple. I ensured they remained in the capital, comfortable, but utterly excluded from every single event, every ball, every mention in the royal gazettes. It's a very elegant, slow death by irrelevance. Every morning they wake up to the full knowledge that their former maid is wearing a better diamond than them. It's exquisite revenge. Does that sound terribly unqueen-like?
It sounds human. Let's move to the prince. We know him as Charming, a rather generic title. What is he like when the cameras are off and the fanfare dies down?
Charming is a lovely man, truly. He's kind, uncomplicated, and terribly concerned with protocol. The problem, Doctor, is that Charming fell in love with a myth. He fell in love with the desperate girl who needed saving, the perfect diamond found in the ashes. He didn't fall in love with the woman who sometimes sits in the royal library at 3 a.m., scrubbing a phantom stain off the marble because her hands start to itch.
So, the marriage is based on a foundational misunderstanding.
It's based on two people trying very hard to fit into roles written by an optimistic narrator. He needs me to be the gentle, thankful queen. I need him to be the impenetrable shield against the outside world. When I have a flashback or a genuine panic attack about a forgotten duty, his solution is to buy me more jewels. He's a man of action, not introspection. And that, Doctor, is where the happily ever after begins to feel less like a destiny and more like a beautifully decorated cage.
You sound trapped.
I am financially secure, adored by the public, and married to a kind man. How dare I complain? That's the trap. The trap is the guilt that comes with acknowledging my deep unhappiness, knowing millions of people dream of my worst day. I survived a nightmare, only to be imprisoned by a perfect dream. It's philosophically exhausting.
Ella, we've talked about the trauma of the past and the pressure of the present. Many people watching this will see you, a queen, admitting that happily ever after is a lie, and they might feel cynical about their own stories. What is your advice to those still waiting for their glass slipper moment?
My advice? Burn the glass slipper. The slipper is a liability. It's fragile, it's uncomfortable, and it will only fit one version of you, the perfect, compliant one. Stop waiting for a prince to validate your exit strategy. Your real happy ending isn't a destination. It's the moment you realize you don't need a magical object or a royal title to define your worth. And if you do end up marrying royalty, please see a therapist before the wedding.
A proactive approach. I like it. So, no regrets about the ball?
Oh, I regret that I didn't steal more silverware, but I don't regret the choice to leave. I simply regret believing that the end of the fairy tale was the end of the work.
Queen Cinderella, thank you for your profound honesty.
The pleasure was all mine, Doctor. I feel lighter. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a state dinner to pretend to enjoy.
That was Queen Cinderella, and her session on the couch highlights a critical lesson in narrative analysis. We often confuse resolution with recovery. Fairy tales provide resolution, the prince, the wealth, the end of the conflict, but they skip the messy, years-long process of recovery from profound psychological damage. The lesson here, for us viewers, is that the moral of the story is rarely about the external reward. It's about the internal work. True strength, as Ella demonstrated, isn't about being saved. It's about acknowledging the price of that salvation. Join us next time on Hero on the Couch when we dive into the troubled mind of our next fictional icon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments what fictional character needs therapy the most.